Taiga.
Hi everyone, we are SCR Fascinating in Industry Team 6. This video reviews our agile process for the Sprint 6, including how we plan the sprint, test work in Tiger, run stand-ups, coordinate responses, feedback, handle testing and integration work, and use the sprint review and retrospective to improve our process. For this Sprint 6, we organized our work in Tiger using user stories and tasks, just like in our previous sprints. Our main goal was to complete the final major integration work for the project, especially the LLM layer, proactive alerts, financial index synchronization, testing strategy documentation, and the remaining front-end and back-end integration items. Our sprint included major user stories like user story 136 for LLM layer, phase 2 user story 139 for profile viewer integration, user story 149 for current system documentation, user story 150 for reliability and testing, user story 152 for budgeting data intake, and user story 170 for UI UX refinements from next feedback. The structure helped us break large goals into smaller, trackable tasks so we could assign responsibilities clearly and verify progress in Tiger. We started Sprint 6 with sprint planning and team coordination. During planning, we reviewed tasks from Sprint 5 and focused on what was the most important for final integration. We also identified tasks that could be completed in parallel, such as testing, documentation, front-end integration, and LLM enhancements. We agreed to prioritize the AI assistant improvements, chart, history support, proactive alerts, testing, static documentation, financial indexing, synchronization, and sponsor feedback. The sprint planning process helped us keep the sprint focused, even though many tasks touched different parts of the system. So we held four Scrum calls during the sprint on April 8, 11, 14, 16. I was Scrum Master for Sprint 6, and the team used the same standard format in each call, what we did, what we will do next, and what are the blockers. The standards were important because Sprint 6 involved a lot of parallel. We used them to coordinate front-end changes, LLM updates, documentation tasks, testing, and sponsors feedback revisions. The stand-ups helped us quickly identify overlaps and keep the sprint moving without confusion. We tracked all work in Tiger throughout the sprint, and the burn down chart shows the sprint 6 reached 100% completion with all the tasks closed. That means we successfully finished the sprint backlog we had planned. This was possible because we updated task status as we completed work, and we also treated some overlapping tasks as complete when the work was already covered by another closely related story. Tiger gave us a clear view of sprint progress and kept the team accountable. We used GitHub as our implementation verification tool. As in previous sprints, we worked in branches and used commission pull requests to track progress. Each completed task was tied to code seamless documentation updates or testing work. Sprint 6 also had a lot of integration work across the front end, back end, and documentation, so we had to be very careful with mergers, task ownership, and making sure the changes were aligned with the latest team decisions. The GitHub history reflects that we kept work modular and traceable throughout the sprint. Testing and reliability were a major part of Sprint 6. We created a five-layer testing strategy covering unit tests, API integration tests, security and permissions, edge cases and error handling, and front-end UI verification. We also worked on the back-end testing phases, financial intake, synchronization, UI verification, budgeting module. In addition, DevOps and Jenkins support were still part of the sprints, especially because the product now runs as a more integrated front-end and back-end system. We built our integration issues. When build our integration issues came up, we treated them as agile blockers, discussed them in stand-ups, and resolved them using team coordination and reruns rather than letting them stall the sprint. This sprint also had an active sponsor feedback loop. We had multiple meetings with John, Sarthak, Naksh, and Arpana, plus coordination with the other ASU team. These meetings mattered because they shaped the final version of the product and gave us feedback from different roles, sponsor, finance mentor, UI mentor, and product manager. From an agile perspective, we use this feedback as part of our iterative process. Instead of waiting until the end, we adjusted the system throughout the sprint based on what our mentors and sponsor recommended. I would say at the end of the sprint, we reviewed what we had planned versus what we completed. This sprint was successful because we reached 100% completion time and finished the major work needed for system. In the retrospective, we focused what we went well and what would be improved, what went well and what was our parallel team with a strong testing structure and useful mentor feedback. The main challenge was the sprint was very meeting heavy, so balancing development, documentation, and feedback integration took careful time management. Overall, I would say this sprint showed our team followed agile practices effectively. Sprint planning, regular stand-ups, task tracking, Tiger, GitHub commit discipline, sponsor feedback, testing strategy, and sprint events retrospective. Yeah, that concludes our Sprint 6 Agile process review. Thank you.